Hello and welcome to World News on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. President Donald Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, met with European diplomats in Paris on Thursday ahead of a day packed with meetings. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Ukrainian diplomats are also in the French capital. Their visit comes as the 30-day ceasefire agreement between Russia and Ukraine, which was supposed to temporarily halt attacks on energy infrastructure, is about to expire. Ukraine has accused Russia of violating the terms of the ceasefire multiple times, casting doubt on the possibility of a lasting peace. The U.S. State Department said that France is hosting Secretary Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to, quote, advance President Donald Trump's goal to end the Russia-Ukraine war. Witkoff is set to meet French President Emmanuel Macron, while Rubio will speak with his French counterpart, Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot. The Ukrainian delegation, consisting of Presidential Office Head Andriy Yermak, Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha, and Defense Minister Rustem Umerov, is set to discuss security guarantees for Ukraine and meet the visiting U.S. officials. At 10:30 p.m. local time, residents of Ukraine's Dnipro were shocked by multiple explosions. More than 100 windows and building facades were damaged in the attack, the aftermath of which is still being handled by local authorities and residents.
We ran out and tried to get out of the yard because we realized that the hit was somewhere nearby. But we could not get out because everything was on fire. That is, the exit was blocked by fire. All the windows were damaged, even though I had armored glass on my windows. I heard 10 explosions, and everyone could hear them loudly. Then everyone started to hide near the elevator. It was more or less safe there because the wall was strong.
Staying on Ukraine now, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has reiterated that Russia remains solely responsible for continuing the war. Speaking in his nightly address, Zelenskyy also spoke of the progress in negotiations with the United States over an economic partnership.
We had an in-depth discussion with our diplomats about the coming weeks, possible meetings here in Europe, cooperation with the United States, and our relations with other countries, all those strong enough to truly influence diplomacy. It must be equally clear across all parts of the world that the sole reason for this war is Russia. The cause lies there, in Moscow, in the Kremlin. There is good progress from the Ukrainian government team working with the U.S. on the economic partnership agreement. First Deputy Prime Minister Sviridенko gave a report today on that. The core legal elements are almost finalized, and if things continue to move at the same pace and constructively, the agreement will yield economic benefits for both our countries, for Ukraine and the United States.
Despite pressure from the EU, Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić intends to attend the May 9th parade in Moscow at the invitation of Vladimir Putin. After warnings from the EU, Vučić doubled down and said that he acknowledges he will be under pressure regarding participation in the event. The EU's top diplomat, Kaja Kallas, has warned that attending the parade in Moscow's Red Square would come with consequences. Other officials from the bloc have said that a potential visit could block Serbia's EU accession policies. Despite these warnings, the Serbian president has confirmed he will take part in the ceremony. Additionally, Serbian military units will parade alongside Russian troops in Moscow during the May 9th commemorations. Even though Belgrade is a candidate to join the European Union, it has maintained friendly relations with Moscow even after the invasion of Ukraine and refuses to impose sanctions on Russia. Donald Trump is doing everything in his power to end the effective isolation of Russia, said Jan Michalczak, the Czech former unit head for countering hybrid threats, in an interview with TVP World. Following declarations of participation in the May 9th parade in Moscow by Alexander Vučić and Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico, our guest pointed to a disturbing trend of world leaders moving to end Vladimir Putin's international isolation.
His isolation is unfortunately ending, and given the current geopolitical situation, I cannot even rule out the possibility that Donald Trump from the United States might attend the parade. It's not been confirmed as far as I'm aware, but given the cozy relationship the Trump administration has had with Putin and the really unsuccessful so-called peace talks on Ukraine, where the U.S. alone has been peddling pro-Russian propaganda, which is something unimaginable. Were you to ask me 2 years ago if that could ever happen, that the U.S. administration would be following Russian propaganda, I would tell you you're crazy. But unfortunately, this is the new world that we are living in. And given the very real possibility that, one, Donald Trump alone might attend, or even if he doesn't, he's doing everything in his power to end the effective isolation of Russia.
Slovakia has passed a new law referred to as the Russian-style bill, targeting Slovakian NGOs. The opposition believes the regulations are unconstitutional and could be used to silence critics. The Slovakian parliament has approved new legislation requiring non-governmental organizations to prepare a transparency report and disclose information on their funding sources. Regulations introduce fines for those who fail to comply. Critics compare it to the Russian law that has been in force since 2012, which has been used to destroy independent organizations, silence the media, and impose repression. Citizens across Slovakia have been protesting for months against Prime Minister Robert Fico's shift towards Russia and are calling on newly elected President Peter Pellegrini not to sign the law. The Polish National Prosecutor's Office has launched a probe into the mysterious disappearance of prominent Belarusian opposition activist Angelika Melnikava. Polish counterintelligence is investigating potential leads. Media outlets have reported a number of possible motives behind the disappearance. One is embezzlement from opposition fundraisers. Others include alleged espionage or kidnapping by foreign intelligence services. Angelika Melnikava is the chairwoman of the Belarusian Coordination Council, an opposition body that aims to aid the democratic transition in Belarus. Melnikava went missing on March the 25th after reportedly travelling to London. Since then, her ex-husband and 2 daughters have been allegedly found in Belarus. Melnikava's associates claim that her phone is also on Belarusian soil. We're now joined by Franek Viachorko, who is the senior political advisor to Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya. Good afternoon, Franek.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Thank you for taking the time. Now, which of the possible scenarios, a number have been put forward, regarding Angelika's disappearance, do you find the most plausible?
So all scenarios are possible right now. Definitely this disappearance is mysterious. It gives more questions than answers. Definitely Angelika is not the person who can just disappear without giving information to her friends or family. So we think that definitely Lukashenko's secret services might be involved in that. What was that? The result of pressure, the result of blackmail? We don't know, and we are thankful to Polish authorities for launching this probe, for launching in this investigation. Maybe it will shed more light to this case.
We understand you've done some work with her. Bearing that in mind, is there information that she might have access to which is of interest to foreign intelligence agencies?
I think she was not so prominent, to Lukashenko's regime, to have her as an agent, because she was leading the coordination council, which is very transparent in its essence. The role of organization of coordination council is to gather all the political parties, NGOs, initiatives together and have the open, transparent discussion about the future of Belarus. But she is useful, and this disappearance is useful for the regime in order to discredit the democratic movement and to seed fear, to show to other activists that we are watching you, we are following you, and everyone is in danger. So less and less people are getting involved in politics. Because she's not a member of the Svetlana Tikhanovskaya's team. We have the government in exile, it's the office of Svetlana Tikhanovskaya and the United Transitional Cabinet, and the parliament in exile, which is much more open, transparent, and public. And I think that the goal was to show maybe vulnerabilities of Belarusians living in exile.
Yes, now it's quite interesting that, that both her daughters and her husband, also ex-husband should I say, are also missing, and there are reports that their telephones are in Belarus. Now that's an interesting confluence of events. They seem to have vanished, all of them, from London. What was their relationship like? Can you tell us anything about that?
I don't know, and I don't think, she was talking a lot about her family. I know she was very close to her kids, and it's very worrying, to know that kids are most likely in Belarus. And it doesn't seem that she herself is in Belarus right now. But in general, I think, that it's too dangerous to speculate right now, because I think this speculation that are like flooding the information space right now, they can basically harm the whole situation. So we hope that the Polish authorities will conduct the proper investigation, and only when we have the facts, not just the versions, then we have to discuss it.
Of course, I understand that, and it makes perfect sense. But there is another aspect to this, and that is that presumably only somebody close to her or her organization would have known where she was going to be and so on. Do you think, and I know I'm asking you to speak hypothetically here, but there is a possibility of infiltration by Lukashenko's agents into her organization?
Such risk exists always, because we are dealing with one of the most cruel regimes in Europe that existed after Second World War. And of course, Lukashenko's KGB is working hard, to discredit, to attack. But I must say that Polish and Lithuanian services, they are doing a fantastic job in revealing these agents, and also democratic forces. We, inside our democratic structures, we have the internal, our own intelligence. We are verifying people who are joining the movement. We are trying to filter. We don't allow just random people, to come into the movement and to have access to the vulnerable information. And regarding Angelika Melnikava, she passed, this many of these procedures, and we don't have, reasons to believe that she was an agent from the beginning. But it doesn't exclude the human factor, because every human, including Angelika, have vulnerabilities, and the regime and KGB, they know how to put pressure. This is why it remains one of the possible versions of behind her disappearance, that the regime found, something, to put pressure on her.
Understood. Well, that's always possible, but as you say, let's wait until we know more before we can draw any more firm conclusions. Thank you very much indeed, Franek, for joining us and sharing your analysis with our audience. Have a good day, sir. That brings us to the end of this episode of World News. Goodbye for now.